Hey everyone, thanks for checking out another video from Pukajay Productions. My name is Ben.
And I'm Luke.
And we have a pretty special video for you today. It's a bit more long format video. This was our trip to the Serapeum, which is just an incredible site in Saqqara in Egypt. We went there with Yusuf Ayman. And this site is, you have to put it on your must-see list. If you get out to Egypt at some point and you go out to Saqqara, there's lots to see out there. Typically it's on the tourist list. And in fact, you can see here as we pan around, you'll see the step pyramid of Zoza. The Winis pyramid is over there. You've got to get over here also and go and see the Serapeum.
It is an amazing site. It's essentially a tunnel system that's been hewn out of the bedrock. And it has some amazing boxes left in these alcoves. And it was then sealed up for a very long time. A couple of the boxes have some Middle Kingdom writings on them, so that's how this site is attributed. And so we're going to go through here with Yusuf. We're going to talk a bit, he's going to talk, and we're going to look at the boxes, the writings, and the structure of this place, and just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and it's an interesting site. I mean, it's fairly new to us, or new to our civilization. It was sort of rediscovered, if you like, 1850. Auguste Mariette was a French explorer who found the place to explore. He also then went on to dynamite some of the boxes and things like you'll see in here to see what was inside them. But that's when it was at least dug out of the sands.
Our guide for the day was Yusuf Ayman, and Yusuf is there in the blue shirt. He's a stonemason and a sculptor, so he works with all kinds of stone of different hardnesses. So he's fully aware of what it takes to shape it. And he learned to read hieroglyphs from his father, Hakim Abdel Oyan, who was a famous Egyptologist and archaeologist and indigenous wisdom keeper. Yusuf's a really erudite guy. He plays a couple of instruments really well, and he knows a lot of stuff. And having lived here his whole life, he's got some really interesting observations. You can see the bedrock ceiling here as we're getting ready to go in.
Yeah, this is Yusuf. It's great to travel with him, just with all of the local knowledge they can bring. But as we start to enter and start on our ride, if you like, through the Serapeum with Yusuf, we start talking about the conditions in these caverns and what it must have been like to be a worker trying to carve this stuff out of the bedrock, using the techniques attributed to the Egyptians. So, enjoy this trip through the Serapeum.
Okay. As I was saying, first we need to understand the challenge of hacking and cutting the tunnels in the bedrock.
Yeah, also the tunnels, hacking them in the dark. As we walk around the corner here, we're already losing the daylight from the door. You can tell here. You can also see Luke wearing his Indiana Jones hat. You'll see a lot of that.
That is a white straw hat. I don't think we need to go there.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, so Yusuf is, he's actually going to tell the guy here to turn the lights off.
That's how bad it gets, even with the light coming from outside.
Yeah.
If you went deeper, then there is nothing to see. Imagine working and cutting in the bedrock and moving with of course the broken pieces and the dust and everything outside. And what is the source of light that we're going to use? There's nothing but a torch, a flame.
Yeah.
Because we call this a torch. It's not, it's electric torch, of course. But I'm talking about the flame. ولع النور يا باشا.
Yeah, turn the lights back on.
And there was light.
So obviously we added
I
all
would have
these
walked
lights.
into that. I mean, you would have walked into that. It's a massive block. You'd have walked
That's another challenge. How are you going to drag this in this environment?
Yeah, because, it's so narrow.
Yeah.
Around the side of the box, you can only get maybe 4 people across, maybe 5.
Here, if you're going to walk straight, you will hardly have one person. You mean like this?
Yeah, and then across, like pushing.
Pushing and pulling and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't have
How
that
many people? We are talking here, the range of these boxes, not less than 50 tons. Some of them weighs over 70 tons. But let's say in the range of 50 tons. 50,000 kilograms. So let's say strong ancient Egyptians were really strong, and each person will drag 200 kilos. Okay,
So
that's good.
That's
Also to be functional. So that means 5 for each ton.
good.
And 5 times 50, so 250. 250, where are you gonna fit them?
Right. 250 really strong people. Big people.
Where?
Breathing hard.
But in the tunnel, you're not gonna fit them. Believe me, if you put 50 people here, it's gonna be like this. But especially in the rooms. Let's go from the other side and start from the other side. Look at this. This exhaust, when anybody used a flame, when they once used these to put fire before they add the electricity, it gives this exhaust. So
But you don't see it on the ceiling. So
you don't see it in the ceiling. So the original builders didn't use it. Also, this side, some people think it's a late period. Some people think it's a new kingdom. It's surrounded with all the kingdom structures from all directions. The unfinished box here and there, which shows the rough type of machining, is one of the best evidence. Of course, it's also a conclusive evidence that these boxes also were being manufactured down here, not manufactured out there and then came down. In many of the boxes, we're gonna see something like this, but after it's done, it looks like it's melted down, and it's not.
yes.
What is happening here, the stone naturally has cracks, and what they are doing is emptying the crack so it doesn't extend and cause damage to the rest of the box. Like in this case, you can see the natural crack is right here. You see it?
Yes.
Huh?
Yep. They're working
So-
around the crack.
Hmm?
They're working around the floor.
They're emptying it out.
Yes. Emptying out
So the
floor.
piece can be more solid.
Uh-huh.
This is a proof that when they are doing this, they are doing it for functional, not decoration.
Right.
Because supposedly this is going to be, if it's for the apis bulls as they think it, as the official story talks about, then it was going to be sealed once and that's all. So they can make it and make it look sharp and everything. But we're going to see many things that it didn't matter the shape, but the function. Like the facets, they didn't have to have the same symmetry on both sides, but they have to have the facet cut and this one. So,
Yeah, I think it's really good that Yusuf talks about function here, because I think it's something that's really missing from the picture. Otherwise, there's really has to be an overwhelming purpose. I mean, a very important purpose to go through all this work to bring this granite and, as you see later, this porphyritic diorite from so far away, or Syenite, and bring it down here, and then you see that they work on it here, which is amazing. And
Yeah, just getting these blocks down there is not a task to be underestimated. I mean, we talked about the math there, and I think we're a little generous with the numbers. I mean, you'll see some of these boxes far exceeding 50 tons. In fact, some going double that, over 100 tons. And assuming every person's going to pull 200 kilograms, which is 440 pounds, it's a bit of a stretch. Combine that with some of the other functional aspects of these boxes, like the fact that when you see hollows on them, Yusuf described the process of the crack being hollowed out, and the only reason you do that is to chase solidity, so that the crack can't extend, cause more damage. That's the only reason you do that. You don't do it if it's just a symbolic box.
right. We're going to jump ahead actually a little bit here to the box with all the writings on it. We're going to start there, and then we'll go back past the other boxes, and Yusuf's going to talk to us a little bit about this.
This has all the best proofs, all the best examples.
So, as we see, the only one they made steps so you can go around and see is this one, because I'm sure in their opinion it's the most valuable one because it has the biggest amount of writings on it. But again, I will say this is more like hieroglyphic graffiti, or this is nothing but hieroglyphic graffiti. We can see how crude these lines are.
Too bright. Too reflection. Thank you.
Oh, so-
No, yours is good, Yusuf.
Okay.
Ben's is really bright.
We can see the glyphs itself is very, very crude. The tool is hardly scratched the surface
Yeah.
of the stone. And somebody can do these edges, these lines,
Yeah, they're not straight. Look at,
and then
they're not parallel.
yeah, look at this. Huh? The tool is totally like soft, and even this here, if this, we believe these writings here is from the late period or Greco-Roman time as well. The writing on the
Is that
surface of
the
this.
style of the writing?
The style of the writing, yes. And
empty cartons.
supposedly at this time there was more iron.
Yeah, of course. Right?
You know what I mean?
Well, this is probably iron, and this is what iron looks like when you scrape, or what granite looks like when you scrape it with iron.
Yeah. Here we can find an empty shell,
Yeah.
and then there's still this part of the story. That this work was being done by the priest in order to trade it.
Right.
And then where does Egyptologist come in this? Usually, if we find that the name here, for
That's who built
example,
it.
imagine the name Ptolemaeus is going to be added here later. Imagine these writings are written, and then later the name Ptolemaeus
Yes.
will come here. We will depend on this name to say that this box was made during the time of Ptolemaeus, and he ordered the priest to manufacture it specially to give offering for the Apis bull, and there goes the whole story. But with no name, what does it mean? Who ordered the priest to do this? He didn't just go and quarried the stone and came here and did the work, just waiting for somebody to
Look at
Here
that.
it
Yes. They've tried to carve
this,
hieroglyphs
this
over it.
here, yeah, of course they will write over it. They cannot do anything else. But for us, we looked at this in the beginning, before we see the evidence of the formula. And as a stone carver, I said, like, this cannot be the normal style of polishing that they think it was done. Also, we have other machining, probably the latest layer. We saw how the rough machining reached a certain point. We have more machining here. Look at it here. Fine lines. If you can bring it with your camera. You see, there are fine lines.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yes.
That looks like the final process or the final stage of smoothing before they give it the shiny polish. So the shiny, and you see it here too.
It's like a vitrification almost, right? Is it?
Yeah, so already we're seeing a problem with the object in front of you, this incredibly hard stone box, hollowed out perfectly, and the attempts to write on it, which are almost futile.
At the same time as there being precision surfaces and evidence of machining tools to actually achieve that surface.
We were looking under here, this side. This is where we discovered this. I'm happy to see. So this is the smooth surface of granite, but not shiny. This is shiny. This is not shiny. But between them here, this is where we found the truth. A liquid, some kind of liquid. So the liquid leaks down here and then forms these lines with drops. And that's how, same like how you read that somebody was walking on top of it.
Right.
Because obviously, no doubt about that. And these, where that liquid ran, exactly the same shiny surface like that. And it gave it all the explanations we need. And it also explained how the polishing reached all these deeper levels. So where is the theory now of polishing with the sand and the water under the rock? It's only on the scene on the wall, but not on the real artifact. Which one I'm going to believe? Of course, the real artifact is the one that tells you the absolute truth.
There's some really sort of eye-opening evidence here that Yusuf is showing, and you can see with this image, it's quite clear to imagine that a liquid has been used to achieve this finish. If you can imagine those drops and those eddies underneath where a liquid might have come down the surface and pooled underneath and dripped off, that seems to be the flow of a liquid here. But I mean, we don't use liquid to do this. This is alchemy. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, and once you start seeing this evidence for what it is, you start noticing it in other really ancient places.
In the Red Pyramid?
Yeah, like the Red Pyramid. But yeah, it's not a technique that we use, but it would explain why these incredible Egyptian polish finishes last for such a long time.
Right.
Here we have many evidence about how bad the tool was. For example, as a stone carver. Here, this is when the surface is too smooth and the tool is too soft, and it would slide a little bit. So if you're like tack, 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 tack.
I mean, wouldn't you do the hieroglyphs first and then polish after or smooth after?
That's if you are doing the entire thing.
Yeah,
but
right.
if you inherited this and
Yes.
you are reusing it, then this is exactly what happens.
Exactly.
And that's also not done just by hand like that. This was drawn first.
Look at the end
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
water. I
Look
mean,
at
it's
this.
just...
Hardly scratches on the surface.
I mean, it's something
Graffiti.
like I would have done with a penknife.
Graffiti, yeah.
Graffiti.
It is hardly scratches.
Yeah. So
And this is the front of the palace.
nobody uses this word, the hieroglyphic graffiti.
You could feel, you could barely even feel it. Like it's
Yeah.
just, they've managed to scratch it. Just check out the perfection of the machining and the angles and reflections on this corner.
Why we cannot accept it? Because of the perfection of machining. You cannot be the one who do this, the thing that would challenge the engineers today, and then you will be challenged just by adding the writings on. Especially that we have seen many good examples of dynastic Egyptians relief and deep relief and high relief superior writings. And we know the process of it and we know the tools. And in my opinion, as a stone carver and someone who's been studying this, I haven't seen really any writings in the hieroglyphics, even the best quality ones, which I love so much, relief or high relief or deep relief, that reflects power tools. I have seen it in statues and in boxes and in slabs, but I haven't seen it yet in any writings. I know how it was done. It was done manually, and so never underestimate dynastic Egyptians. You cannot. In fact, the fact that we have the statues of dynastic Egyptians, no matter, we're not going to depend on the writings to date it and relate it, but the shape, the dress, everything is that culture. And it does have the power tools marking, like the tubular drill and the power like circular saw. That means we cannot separate the pyramid builders from them. But we can have something else. We can extend the timeline with more intermediate periods and more up and down of the civilizations. Probably the cataclysm will wipe everything off, and then they will inherit it, and yeah, of course, inherit it and rise again, or like, rebuild the civilization. Especially if you inherit lots, then it will be much easier to develop again. Maybe not the same, but to develop a lot, to understand a lot about the ancient Egyptian civilizations. Maybe they used these structures for initiations, or what we call magic, or what we call things like that. But still, it's a reuse.
This is almost like
Very
a whole,
limited reuse.
they tried to draw a whole door here, yeah, like a false door.
Yeah,
front
this
of
is
the
again
door.
what they can call the front of the palace. I don't know whatever they mean with this.
It looks like the shape that they would make in the front doors.
doors, yeah.
You see here,
Okay, when you look at that straight
rough
on, it's even
machine
hard to
down here.
it's hard to see how
Oh,
that
yeah.
buckles.
See that down there? That's the rough
the
machine.
the rough machining. So we do have rough machining, and it's still lost to technology.
It's highly abrasive. Like that looks like it's taken just chunks out.
Yeah.
That must have been some incredible tool. Like just, I can't imagine how they did this. I mean,
Here, for example, the angle is not sharp, but they still faceted it.
yeah,
Look at the writings on it.
trying. Yeah.
Trying.
This place blows my mind.
It is amazing.
And this is black granite.
Yeah, this is one of the names that it can be called the black granite.
One
As
of
we
the
were-
300 names.
One of the 700 names.
Steve Mailer was here to tell you it was cyanite.
Syenite. I asked our friend and the teacher Susan Moore, like, what can you call this? She said, Syenite with porphyritic diorite. That sounds more complicated.
A couple of excellent points made by Yusuf there as we wander around this incredible box.
Yeah, I think the first thing that you have to take away from this is, okay, so we have these late period writings on the box. This is how the site is dated. And right away, you notice that the writings cannot match the box in any way.
Yeah.
They're completely inferior.
Right.
So right away, your only method of dating this site is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, as a serious academic, you would have to look at that and say, I cannot trust that date.
Right, and it's just the fact that we ignore, or Egyptology ignores, all the evidence that's in front of you. And this was another distinction that Yusuf made, was that in all of the objects, the evidence that you see, this is how we build a picture of the past. There, in statues and obelisks and things, the power tool markings and this evidence of advanced machining really only happens on the objects. It doesn't occur in the writings, even in the amazing writings. Like that's what Yusuf's saying is a stonemason. He knows how that was done. So just by going there and understanding that evidence, it throws everything else into doubt. This whole story of how we put this together, and once you understand that, it opens up your perspective and how you can look at all of these sites. You can interpret all this evidence for what it really is.
Yeah, there's a very seductive lure that they use with Egyptology. They'll bring you into a site like this. They'll say the writings are from this kingdom. These are the boxes. The boxes are for burials. This is what we do. We bury people under the ground. So right away you go, oh, this box is from the late period, and oh, this burials. Oh, so this is a tomb, and this was done then. And it's very seductive, and it looks acceptable. It looks reasonable, makes sense. And yet, as you walk through here and you look at these different places, you realize that there's all kinds of evidence that it's actually the other way around.
Yeah, and it comes from our desire to explain things. The fact is that as we talk about, and Yusuf mentions these boxes, they were clearly intended to be functional. I mean, here's a box it's actually unfinished. This is not a polished box. This is something that was probably in the process of being finished, yet look at where it is. How do you finish this box and get it to a high degree of shine while it's tucked away into this alcove? This is the challenge with this. It's a little threatening to sort of look at this and imagine and not be able to really understand what the functional purpose of this place was, because there is no reason to go to the level of effort and trouble to achieve the precision and hauling these tremendous stones around when you could build these things piecemeal. You don't need flat surfaces. You just need a lid to look fine. A wooden box would probably do for a tomb,
Unless it's easy. Unless you know how to move this stuff and it's not a challenge.
Yeah. Well, they're chasing it for a functional purpose. We can't comprehend what that is, so we have to come up with an explanation, and the explanation is what's written on them. That offers an explanation up, and we sort of hastily grab at it.
It's the comfortable explanation.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's one of the things about Egypt. The older the civilization, the older the dynasty, the larger the rocks they use, the more they accomplish in more beautiful style. Right.
The further back you go, the more megalithic you get. I mean, look at this thing. This is one of the bigger boxes that's down here. It's rose granite. Absolutely tremendously made. I mean, you can see the precision, the interior surface on it. And it's got writings on it. In fact, this is the one that sort of tells the story of how the place came to be called the Serapeum, and Yusuf and Muhammad, they're both accomplished hieroglyph readers, so he'll actually explain a little about the history behind the name of the Serapeum here.
But the challenge is something that's, of course, look at the size. Single solid piece of rose granite, that thick. I think this is more than 70 tons. Yeah. This can go for 100 tons, easy. You know? Yeah. The slabs in the Giza plateau, the one that was covering.
How did they lower it down into the?
And that's the challenge when we're talking about the 250 people. How can they come down here? Huh? Right. Then we will look at the ceiling. The ceiling is hacked out of the bedrock.
You couldn't support the weight of this thing if you tried to suspend it, right? Wouldn't have.
If it was going to be much easier if you emptied the entire chamber and lowered the box from up there and then build a new ceiling. If anybody is going to think functional, definitely was going to accomplish it this way. Imagine that this was manufactured down here. Then it was a single solid piece. That's totally another challenge. A single solid piece, that means add the rest of the granite that was emptied out of this.
Right. And there's the lip, I mean,
The lid that is the one that we saw out there. The width of that box is only 1 feet smaller than the width of the tunnel.
This box, though, there's 1 foot.
1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot smaller than the width of the tunnel. So imagine turning with it.
Yes.
Huh? So that's. So here we have the symbol. You see the bull right here, and you have the symbol hip, and you have the symbol uzir. The symbol hip is the one that you see the rope coming down, and the angle and the gate, and then the bull, and then uzir is the symbol of the eye, and the chair, and the figure of a seated man.
So is that technically in the correct place, like the Osir, or is it the other box where they have Osiris, like in the wrong?
Both of them are not supposedly not in the. We cannot understand, but we know that the ancient Egyptian sometimes in one word, not in more than one word, but in one word they can change the location of the signs just to give the harmonious look,
Right.
to fit everything in harmony with it. But anyway, they say the word Serapis came from the word Osir Hip. And in some other cases, the word Osir Hip is written in order, like Osir Hip. So they still looked at this and also say, label it or like pronounced it Osir Hip. So Osir Hip, Osir became Sir, and Hip became Apis.
Yes.
And this is where the word Serapis came from. And the Hip, because of course this is the Greek influence in pronouncing the word. Hip, they don't have the Ha, and they end all the words with S.
Yes.
Like Osir became Osiris, and like Hor became Horus, Isis, Isis, Nephthys. So it's like that. So Hip was pronounced Apis,
Apis.
and that's where the word Apis pool came from. That destroys this one of the theories, the theory of polishing. It's not a theory because it's depicted on the walls as we saw it, how they were smoothing and polishing the vessels with the piece of rock.
Right.
And that's how the Egyptologist, of course, will depend on these scenes to explain how it was polished. But here we have evidence that it proves it's not.
I just have to
This
laugh.
is the second one.
And you do have to laugh because whoever was able to cut out the interior
Yeah,
and
why
shape
not?
the exterior,
Yeah, just gonna write one light for memory, you know.
why couldn't they go deeply with the hieroglyphs? If you can cut that box out, you can cut hieroglyphs in, right?
Yeah, if you can cut this box out, you can do anything. And this box was in the end of this tunnel. There is a room in the end of this tunnel.
You're going down.
Come.
Yeah, this was cool. You'd normally get thrown out of places for trying to ride the rail and go into the off-limits areas, but Yusuf knows about these places, and it's a nice perk of traveling around Egypt with him.
Yeah, and you see how narrow these passageways are, the size of the box, just the difficulties in getting something of that weight around these corners,
Yeah.
and how are you fitting, it's...
You think it was going in, or do you think it was going out? That box. You think they were about to house it in this room, or do you think it was already in and they were taking it out? I think it was already in. You see, these are the stones that they used to renovate.
Right.
That they used to renovate.
So you think that the black box was back here?
Possibly. This is the room that it was supposed to house it. But I was looking for evidence, but maybe you can open the other door to show you this evidence. The evidence exists in some writings left on the stone. Probably these are more modern stones brought by the Ministry of Antiquities. But anyway, this is the room. Yeah. Graffiti.
That's graffiti.
Yeah.
It's paint.
What happened here is in one of the eras, I believe it's the side period, they reused the stones, limestone, from outside to case the inside. And this is mentioned, by the way, in the official books. But they still date it to the late period, I don't know why. Because to reuse stones to renovate this site, that means the site is over.
Yes.
This doesn't need super intelligence to understand something like this. For a long time, they thought that the Serapeum ends here. And then one of the professors discovered that it extends.
And it extends the other end too. I mean, we're going to find more stuff down there. There's probably levels. I mean, there's a tunnel, a small tunnel down the other end. You can see that goes into a further space.
There could be multiple levels to the Serapeum, and this is, you start getting into concepts like the labyrinth of Hawa, and you can see some of the effort and the precision in the tunnels and the capability of whoever was making these cavern systems.
Yeah, I think there's something behind the wall right there too, is what he's alluding to.
Yeah, the way they smooth it out to add in steles or to write things. This is all the limestone casing. Actually, there's a massive box down here. It's nothing most people get to see, but wait till you see this just gigantic behemoth of a box at the end of this tunnel.
Parts like this to add writings or to house a stela from another material. Here is a giant false door from granite, and we're gonna realize when we are walking both sides of the boxes, they have empty spaces in the walls. Probably they housed these false doors. Even that the top of it is arched. But look down here. Now you see what I'm talking about? Yeah. You see the glyphs?
Yes.
These are upside down glyphs. You see the owls?
Yes. Yeah, they're upside down.
They're upside down because it was reused to renovate the site.
Right.
During the dynastic Egyptians. This is quartzite and this is granite stone. And this is limestone. So, again, we're talking about inheritors. And the inheritors recycle sometimes from the same stone on the site. If they're going to reuse the site, they reuse the stone on the site to renovate it. And then sometimes they bring stones from outside. And sometimes they reuse the stone on the same site, but not in the same location. Like they can take from northern Saqqara to use it in southern Saqqara, but on the same location to renovate the site in order to be functional for the reuse.
That reuse and renovation, it's a concept to keep in mind every time we look at these sites. They have a nuanced history and lots of people have worked in there, including us.
That's definitely one of the things that you see is renovations of sites that are supposedly new at the time they're being renovated.
Dun, 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 dun.
All this tiles in the ground is recycled also from older structure. And again, here is the evidence. One of the tiles still have glyphs.
Yeah.
So there is no doubt that they recycled stones from probably New Kingdom time to reuse it here. Probably also in the side.
What do you think they were making here when they were renovating? What do you think they were making?
Renovating. In order to house boxes.
More boxes.
Yes. That's why I told you some of the boxes looks like they were coming in. Some of the boxes looks like they were already here and only the writings came on them later. This one here, for example, is also unfinished. It's like the largest one. Look at the height. But it has a giant crack in it. You see that?
Wow, the lid.
I know, right? The lid is massive.
And the lid is massive.
So if this is functional, what's the, I mean, some sort of catalyst chamber? It must be something that's something, you need the weight to contain it.
I think
It does have a big crack in it.
we have something with this thing. The bottom of the lid. The lid almost reached a very like a final stage of smoothing.
Yeah.
So all you needed after this level is to smooth it and then
But again, look at all the different types of stone you've got in there.
yeah. This is because we find the feldspar crystals is big, then this can be like also granite diorite or Syenite.
Yeah.
Tip it over the edge there.
This is mostly Syenite, but with porphyritic diorite in it. Yeah. It's a combination.
If you give me that one, I can read.
We doubt that this is coming from. We doubt that this is coming from Aswan, by the way.
No, this is a Syenite stone,
This
you
is,
think?
looks like more like navigation channel. Huge.
Yeah.
The base of the lid is definitely smaller. Hmm? I cannot imagine handling massive pieces like this in a very narrow places like that.
What an immense box. It's almost inconceivable how they managed to get that thing in there and then also expertly tuck it into the corner in this cavern system. We're now back in the main gallery.
And look at the smooth. What was inside here? It's a mystery. It looks genuine. Could it be like a metal? I would think something to create induction or to create higher induction.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever come down here with a Geiger counter?
Was what?
With anything to see if there's like a radioactive reading?
I don't know.
That's one of the reasons you may use a box like this is to house something that's
radioactive.
Now, I don't know if granite...
That's an idea. You see, we are very short on information because the true research about the ancient time of civilizations didn't really begin yet. Because it's all about labeling. If I label this as a sarcophagus, I will think it was to house a mummy. If I label it as a box, then I will think that it was to house something. Yeah. But if I understand something else, I would recognize that this is the device.
Right.
But we don't know how did it function. Here are the two spaces on the sides that possibly housed also the so-called false doors. You see it? The two deeper parts on both sides. Probably was quarried because the site was known for more than once to be a quarry. Lots of them, if you find some rooms without boxes, probably the boxes were quarried to smaller pieces of millstones and then moved out with it. So it's all about understanding the function. We understood today the function of that it was built and served as a symbolic or as a tomb for the Apis bulls because we depended on the writings to translate. When we translated it, we dated the site based on it. We labeled the site as the Serapeum based on it. We also understood the function based on it. So what if these writings were added later? Then everything we analyzed is doubtful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like to use that word because it's more
Yes.
not wrong.
Doubtful.
You can doubt.
You can cast doubt on it.
Yes, exactly. Especially as we saw only three. We saw two with writings, and the third one we're going to see also.
Yeah.
Look at this rose granite, the sharpness.
Yeah.
And the sharpness in the inside is higher than outside.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't do that unless there was a very clear purpose for having it
Definitely.
that way.
We know the work of our teacher also, Christopher Dunn. He did the study down here in the Serapeum, and I heard the story from many friends, including him. Like when you want to start doing something like that, First, the engineers told him like to do it from different pieces, not from a single solid piece. And he said, no, but if we need it from one piece, he said, they told him back then, you should start at least as a beginning with $1 million.
Right.
You know what I mean?
At least.
To start, who
So
wants to do
have
something
dig-
like that?
You have to go very deep to get
Yes,
the big
just
to
blocks
get
of
the pieces
pure
out.
granite.
Exactly. This is
Ah, yes.
the only one that was sealed. So all of these were opened when Auguste Mariette found the place, and except this one.
So
And they used explosives to open it because it was so tight they couldn't even move the lid.
look at the polish on the inside. Look how smooth that is.
The polish in the inside is like a mirror. And most of the outside is also like a mirror, but the dust layer is on top of it. There is a dust layer.
So tight they had to blow it apart. They couldn't even move the lid. This was 150 years ago. And this site is supposedly thousands of years ago, if not, I think, tens of thousands of years old. And we say the Egyptians moved all this stuff down here and popped those lids on and moved them around. 150 years ago, we couldn't budget and had to use explosives to blow it apart.
The box itself is housed down.
Yeah.
So renovating
It's dug
probably
into the ground.
the stone, the tiles that they renovated, because of course it was going to be very hard to move this box and then put the tiles under it, so they renovated around it. When they brought the stones from the structures outside. And this can be a proof. The box is much older than the renovation.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to reinforce that, we saw earlier that these limestone tiles in the floor are clearly reused from structures outside, in that some of those tiles still have glyphs on them. Yet you can see here this renovation work was done carefully around these boxes, because I don't think the Egyptians were moving these boxes anywhere. They wanted to use the spaces, ceremonial use, whatever purpose they had, maybe trying to put balls in them, I don't know. But they clearly renovated this place and worked around these boxes.
That all these ones on that corridor, and there is more, there is no two rooms facing each other. And this has to be functional. So you wouldn't find this one with a room in front of it with another box. Even when we keep going. You find like one to the left, but you don't find one to the right front of it. You find it after. So if I will imagine, I'm not going to say anything except imagination. If I imagine that there is a kind of a current is running and these devices are conducting it. Because this is the north, we know that. Huh? So if there is, like, for example, a magnetic current is running and you don't want to put both of them on the same current or on the same line of that magnetic line, then that will make sense why they will then put them all front of each other, and they will put one like this and then one like that and then another one on this side and another one on that side, but not on the same alignment. It's imagination, of course.
As we walk through here, just take a second to remember that we're underground. This isn't a building. This is passages hewn out of the bedrock. Although there's a nice floor in there now to keep the dust from coming up. This is underground in the desert.
It's not a wine cellar.
Right.
It's definitely not the thing that we're going to go to data and relate that box, because it is clearly what we can call hieroglyphic graffiti.
Right.
It's not even close to the level of machining of the surface. So if you're going to be accomplishing this kind of work, how come the writings is so crude? So if we cannot depend on these writings to date and relate, then we are missing something.
Yeah. Well, we need to start again.
Like here, this one is not aligned with this one.
And this one also has some of the dips, the bubbles.
Yeah.
Like the,
Well, first of all, we looked at these deeper parts, and as a stone carver, I was like saying, like, this is impossible. Why? Because I saw that inside these lower parts, the polishing still in these deeper ones as good as the one on the surface. And if you follow that manual style, of course, you will never be able to go to these pits in the stone. You will never reach with your sandpaper or with your piece of rock or with whatever you have, you will never reach that level of polishing as same as the flat surface on the outside. So we had many like ideas looking around it and thinking like maybe this is a kind of bacteria that affected the stone and things like that. Until one day, and there is no coincidence, but when it was the time for us to see and realize, like these ones especially, yeah. You see these ones?
It's like a circle, semicircle.
Yeah, and it's polished in the inside, same like anything else.
Inside the tip, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A huge one on the side.
Underneath the lid of this last box, you can see the drips, right, from what may have been some form of alchemy.
This is, it is.
Oh, that's
And
a good.
that last one we're gonna see. After we saw it here, we realized it in many other boxes. And also we realized that it's not acid. It's a layer.
Yeah.
It's a layer above the granite, not an acid that like polished it to that level.
Yusuf mentioned Christopher Dunn. Chris Dunn is an engineer who works in the manufacture and use of precision objects. He knows an awful lot about precision. If you're interested in some more technical details and analysis of the Serapeum, I'd highly recommend checking out his website. It's gizapower.com. He's also written several books on lost ancient high technology in Egypt. But he has some just astonishing analysis of the true level of preciseness that is exhibited by these boxes. Not only do you have just incredibly flat and precise flat to within microns and measured with precision tools where you're barely letting even light underneath them. Just remarkably flat surfaces that are incredibly hard to achieve even today. But what makes this achievement even more spectacular is that the inside spaces of these boxes are perfectly perpendicular and parallel with each other. So it exponentially increases the degree of difficulty compared to just producing a flat surface. So the flat surface itself is remarkable and highly doubt and just casts a lot of doubt on the ancient mechanisms and methods that they used to create this. But when you then say that these walls are perfectly aligned with each other, perfectly parallel and perpendicular, your degree of difficulty goes up exponentially. And the explanation of doing this by hand just doesn't cut any mustard.
But let's say like the lower one. Yeah. This piece, if you cut from it 2 centimeters, each 1 meter from it, 1 square meter, is going to be like $100. This is a wholesale price. So imagine you have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in the material down here. Yeah. So. And it's much easier to carry the cut pieces.
I noticed they're usually
than carrying the massive block.
Well, I noticed last time I was down here there were more, but now that Mohammed is almost finished with his apartment, I noticed there are a few less boxes here.
Mohammed especially got very good experience working in his apartment, watching the challenges in marble and very soft things.
What does this?
I am telling you, this is what I was explaining for you. Yeah. The natural cracks is not needed for the solidness of the box.
So they cut them out.
So they empty, this one they empty out. This one here is very similar to the one I was pointing out for you on the unfinished one.
How did they do this? Like it's circular, so smooth, it's like an egg.
Yes.
Like a hot
This
egg.
is a process of machining. First rough and then smoother and then smoother. But the shiny surface is what's not real polishing.
Make sure you get this on the side here of the reflecting the light here. Yeah. And Yusuf, tell us about the Egyptian statue that they made when they tried to make was it marble or granite, the biggest statue in Egypt, and they polished it. They sent it to Europe.
Oh yeah. You mean the modern one front of
the modern one, right?
Yeah, it's made from granite stone and it's made from several pieces and it's made with modern machining, but they couldn't reach the shiny surface, so they had to send it abroad to be polished like that. That's called the Nahdat Masr, Egypt Rising. And today, after less than 100 years, it's already starting to lose that shiny surface. Yeah. And for manufacturing, this is also one of the things you can find in the workshops and in factories, that they make the marble tiles and different types of granite tiles as well. That to give it that shiny surface, they have weight of like 5 tons on the surface to with the weight. With the polishing tools, it's not stone. It's another circular thing with like diamond powder and stuff like that. Here also we don't find symmetry in the box. This side was finished differently than that, but it also looks more functional because it's faceted. And even in the lower parts like this one, in many cases you find that it's not broken modernly. No, it is the stone itself, and they facet it. They cut it like when they cut a diamond or something.
Solidity appears to have been the main purpose for these boxes rather than symmetry. And in fact, the interior spaces are so precisely carved that when on, the lids form a hermetic seal.
Most of the tiles that they used the plaster to stick in the ceiling fell down, as you can see. So what you see here is not the tiles; it's the print on the plaster.
Yeah, and of course it's the modern stuff that falls down.
So this is the plaster. You see that?
Yeah.
It's not the stone, but it's the print of the stone on the plaster that they used it to stick it.
Right.
So all that work on the inside here, this is the renovation. Here, one of the officials told me that this here is a possible extension for the Serapeum as well, like the one they found on behind the other door. And you can look, it's not small. This needs your good torch, with me.
Hey, let me turn it up.
Okay. It goes.
There we go.
It goes and goes.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. So it's not modern. This is probably an extension, but like what kind of extension? What is the function of it? Maybe they had the apis rats. And this is the tomb of the rats.
Well, we don't know how deep this is. Do you know how deep it goes? Like it's filled up with rubble.
No,
But
why they fill it up like this?
Yeah.
What is the use of it? Where are the studies? How come they don't bring a robot here and send it? How come the Ministry of Antiquities doesn't have this kind of equipments, like with wires, cameras, and lights and stuff like that?
Easy to
So why?
There's the box.
If I have these limited equipments, why am I going to put myself in this kind of challenge? What is wrong with a beautiful wooden sarcophagus with all the decorations of the apis bull on it and call it a day? You know? What's wrong with that?
Or using smaller pieces to construct a box.
Or use it, small pieces, exactly.
Instead of moving this.
Or build, like building the whole thing. Doing it with gold is much easier. Huh? Why this size? This size can take 10 bulls, not one.
As we leave the Serapeum, an amazing place, I think we just take with us this understanding that the site is dated by the writing on the boxes. The writing on the boxes does not match the construction of the boxes in any way. The place is renovated by the people who did the writing on the boxes, and that renovation is around the boxes.
As you can see, our renovation is indeed around the boxes. In fact, this box, I mean, on the way out, you have to go past it again. This is the box in the hallway. It's just, it really is worth one last look, because this is a point Yusuf makes as we look at it, is if this was coming in or going out, using the techniques that certainly drawn or are given as methods with, you have a sled and lots of manpower, then where's the sled? This box hasn't moved. There's no sled underneath it. We don't know how it was placed there. But one of the many many mysteries of the Serapeum. This is just an enchanting site. If you get the chance to go there, I highly recommend it. Don't miss this place.
I'm pretty sure wood would splinter under that at that weight.
Would
but
shatter.
I'm not sure that the 3 or 4 largest boxes, particularly that one way in the back around the corner, I don't know how we'd get that out today. I'm not sure.
Can't. Yeah.
I'm not sure how we'd get that out.
Short of excavating the whole hillside.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can see here, this is all bedrock.
In the roof.
Yeah.
any case, we really hope you enjoyed sharing our visit to the Serapeum. We certainly enjoyed it. It's a place that we've been to before. We'll be back again at. And be sure to come back to our channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're pushing out a lot of content. We're in production now.
I hope you hated it, personally. I hope it really upset you, and you're just not going to sleep tonight.
Yeah, actually, that's what it does to us. At least the first time you really think about it.
No, actually, that's pretty true.
Enjoy. Cheers.